Hi, I'm Vince with ARA, and this is ARA Unscripted. In this episode, we sit down with Bret Buike for a candid conversation about leadership, relationships, and building trust across industries. Bret shares his unconventional journey from the car business and U.S. Navy to emergency medicine and working along business owners, and how it shaped his people-first approach. We explore the perception gaps between recyclers and dealers and the value of listening before selling and why reputation and relationships drive long-term success. Bret also reflects on purpose, mental health, and the experiences that influence how he leads and lives. I hope you enjoy it. This episode is brought to you by VinMatch Pro, built specifically to support auto recyclers by helping them make confident decisions from the very start. VinMatch Pro simplifies complex VIN data, making it easy to clearly understand vehicle details and match the data correctly the first time. That means fewer errors, fewer credits, and fewer returns, saving time and money across your operation. By putting accurate, easy-to-read information and practical tools all in one place, VinMatch Pro helps recyclers work faster, stay consistent, and spend less time double-checking their work. At VinMatch Pro, the goal's simple. Provide reliable information, smarter workflows, and tools that fit the way recyclers actually work every day. See VinMatch Pro in action by emailing justin@vinmatchpro.com or call 978-413-7170 to set up a demo.
Unless I got my Dunkin' water here.
Yeah. That's a cute cup you got.
Yeah, I know. I like it.
You got a little Valentine's Day or Christmas or something?
These are Christmas leftovers for sure. Yeah.
Well, so man, I can't thank you enough. I know that was a heck of a journey. Tell us about your trip.
Yeah. So obviously we've been talking and planning this for a while, trying to come on the show, and the schedule has been pretty crazy lately with just different industry shows and things, and the holidays and Vivian's cheer competition. So I was like, Monday, Tuesday, I can make it. Yeah. Flew out here in the morning, picked JFK. I knew better, but it was a crapshoot. It was either JFK or Dulles. Right. And just getting out of Cleveland, it took me an extra hour plus to take off. And once I land in JFK, I'd missed the connecting flight. They burned up your layover? Yeah, they completely ate the layover. And then going from JFK to here, I was like, by the time I got into flight land, I was like, it's quicker just to drive. So you drove. Hopped in a rental car and drove here.
From Brooklyn.
Brooklyn, yeah.
Wow.
But I made it. It's good. It's good to see you, obviously, as always.
Yeah, it's good to see you too. That's crazy. Well, man, what an effort. I mean, you get an A+ for effort, man. That's awesome. So now let's talk. Let's just have a conversation and talk about stuff. So Bret Buike with National Reinsurance, and so on the podcast, when we have conversations, I've had a conversation with one or two other vendors, and I intend on having conversations with other vendors, but the focus is not really on product; it's on people, like who you are. We'll talk. It's impossible to talk about who somebody is without talking about what they do, and you in particular, because I think you have such a unique product. So I don't, obviously I don't want this. We've talked about this. Yeah. This isn't going to be a commercial, but I think it would be great to take advantage of this opportunity and unpack what reinsurance is, because I don't think people understand. It's one of those things where maybe I'm just dumb, but like, do you have to explain this to people more than once? Just say yes.
I mean, you do, yeah, 100%.
Thank you so much.
Everybody struggles with it the same.
Good.
It is, and it's usually not because it's like this crazy concept, right? Like usually people are like, hey, this is something that we've looked into before, or is it like this or it's like that? But once you go over just the general idea of what it is that we do, which is, it literally boils down to, it's just a better way to account for transactions these people at the yards are doing every day, right? They're selling parts, they're issuing credits, they're standing behind their product, they're brokering, they're selling extended warranties, whatever it is that they're doing. But most of them, and this is true not only of this industry, but in all the other industries outside of automotive. And automotive reinsurance is just a thing everybody knows, right? And tracking things to the penny is just part of the business. With auto recycling and roofing and HVAC and cement and all these other industries, it's always just kind of been chalked up as the cost of doing business. We just do it. But actually tracking what's the true liability. How much is it really costing me to stand behind my part for 6 months or to sell a 1 year? And when you start looking at not only the cost of the part, but shipping it a second time, or certain employees or admin, or outside services that you're using and everything like that. I haven't had anyone yet who's been like, oh yeah, I know, we track that, it's this much. Mm-hmm. Nobody has. And then even when we start digging into it a little bit, the values that they were using usually end up not being as accurate as we had originally intended. So the byproduct of bringing reinsurance, into this industry was more about the reporting aspect of it, right? Mm-hmm. And kind of digging into just tracking it and expense control and understanding, what's really happening, in that area of their business. So it's been fun to get to participate in, digging in and educating more about the yards and how they operate. And everybody does it a little different.
Oh, yeah.
I've yet to go into 2 yards and like, oh, yeah, we do it just like he does.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, no, they don't.
And you obviously, like you mentioned, a couple other industries that you're involved in selling reinsurance into. You said HVAC and roofing, and I know you have deep roots into automotive dealers, and you have a dealership, or you had to.
Yeah, so grew up in the car business. Dad was a car dealer, so in that world we're called PhDs, or you tell everybody I have a PhD, which is Papa had a dealership, right? So you're a second generation or a third generation car dealer, which in that business is the worst thing you can be. Because typically it's it's not a great stereotype, right? Because these things tend to be kind of given to you, and kids are a little spoiled. So the joke was always
car dealerships in general. I mean, you guys, it's interesting now that I'm thinking about it. Like, so you have a similar image problem that we do in the automotive recycling industry. For us, it's everybody thinks you're in a junkyard, and when you're not, like we've got hundreds and hundreds and thousands of professional automotive recyclers. But you do have the stereotypical junkyard. And for you, it's that used car salesman thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the Slick Willie, he's going to sell you a car. And I imagine it's very similar. Like you've got some stand behind the product, guys with integrity and people with integrity in the industry. And you probably have some that are kind of earning the other reputation, right? Yeah,
for sure. I mean, even in the new car business, right? Not all dealers or dealerships are, created equally. But in the used automotive space, especially the subprime or like the buy here, pay here space, which our company is very large in, it tends to have a more, negative, connotation. But in actuality, the buy here, pay here business is so similar to what you guys do as far as like maybe what our perceived perception is. But then when you get behind the curtain and you realize that the business is actually very complex. And it takes a, above average individual to run that business, and then not only to run it, but then to grow them successfully. So when you see, some of these, dealerships, and you drive past them and you think, it's been there for a long time, but he's only ever got like 30 or 40 cars. Like, don't shake a stick at it, because he might only have 40 at one time, but he's selling 80 a month. And on top of that, he's also his own bank. Yeah. And managing, both sides of that business is it's very difficult. And so our parent company, Buike, is primarily automotive. I mean, all 50 states, new car, used car, buy here, pay here. And that's actually how I got into this. Was back in 2016, my father was part of a new car franchise called Fairchild. We had a Chevy store, Jeep store, Acura store back in the days. And
where was that? In Ohio?
Yeah, in Ohio. Kind of right around, Cleveland proper, the airport and stuff. And then in 94, he got into the buy here, pay here business, and he was an early franchisee at JD Byrider.
Okay.
So fast forward 25 years, they've got now 7 locations and, 6,000 accounts and $55 million worth of buy here, pay here loans running around in the street. And we actually sold to private equity when they came in and they were buying up, franchisees group after they had kind of purchased Byrider Corporate. So fast forward from there, you've got a non-compete and you end up finding other things to do. And as I got out into, the real world, not working for your dad anymore, I realized that I was very lucky to have the education that I did, not only in the car business, but in business and reinsurance. And I kept running into a lot of people who, just like, in this industry, didn't know what it was. I just assumed everybody knew because we had always had one. You know what I mean? I had no idea. So then you start helping out your friends who own dealerships, and this guy and this guy. One thing led to another, and Buike, who's the parent company for National Reinsurance, is the same reinsurance company that handles my family's reinsurance company. So I've known them for a long time. That turned into a partnership, and it's been, that was 6 years ago now, and it's been great.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of fun. Yeah,
wow.
Enjoying it very much, and we've grown a ton. We tripled in size in 5 years, because of just everything going on in the automotive space. COVID was obviously a huge boom to different businesses. Impacted you guys as well in very similar ways. And the company just became very popular. Reinsurance as a whole became, really, really popular again. But I think the biggest thing that happened during all that was everybody that owned a business, they had no choice but to slow down a little bit. And everybody started working on their business during the downtime. Mm-hmm. So all of a sudden they had that time to dig into that project or take that phone call or look at their business a little differently. And then, when
we saw a lot of that.
Yeah. So everybody slowed down. All of a sudden they were like, oh, I could fix that. You know?
And there was PPP money. So they
money,
had time and they had the money, and they were able to accomplish some of these tasks that they'd been putting off for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you came up in the car business selling cars.
Yeah, selling cars. Well, I mean, I did everything I could not to go into the car business.
What do you do in the car business if you're not selling?
Well, so it was weird. I left high school, went straight into the military.
Okay. Which branch?
Navy. Didn't really tell the family, didn't have a graduation party, no senior pictures.
Yeah.
Just kind of a get me out of here. I had
Move that in, Tracy. If you can close the gap.
A little bit more.
Yeah.
I had a kid coming young, and I thought, well, I'm just going to go do something on my own and figure this out.
So wait a second. You graduated high school.
Graduated high school.
And joined the Navy.
Joined the Navy.
Which is great, normal, kind of pretty normal. Yeah. My son did the same thing.
Yeah.
But you said you didn't tell anybody?
Well, it's not that I didn't tell them. It was just it was one of those things hey, I did a thing today. And they're like, oh, what'd you do? I was like, so I signed up for the Navy and I leave in 2 weeks. That was kind of that thing.
How many siblings do you have?
So I have one biological, and then I have 1, 2, 3, 4, half step.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Were you all under the same roof at the same time?
Never.
Oh,
Never.
Okay. So
my parents got divorced later in life and then remarried even later than that. So
did you grow up kind of as an only kid?
No, I mean, me and my sister. I mean, my parents didn't get split up until I was teenager, 13, 14, something like that.
Right.
And then, you're a teenager. So even if my parents were home, I had no idea.
Yeah.
So I was just
So you come home and spring this on them. And what was their reaction?
Just kind of okay, surprised. But
was this normal, Bret? Was this normal, Bret?
It was pretty normal for me to just kind of do my own thing. And so I did it. And Navy was awesome.
Yeah.
Loved it.
How many years?
4? So it was a 6-year enlistment. And then I had, fast forward, kids literally got to A school and immediately flew home to a child being born.
Oh, wow.
So back to the Navy, doing my thing, home to the kids.
Were you on a ship?
Submarines.
You were on submarines?
Yeah. So I was at a subbase New London, Groton, Connecticut. So not too terribly far away.
What was the longest you were out?
So the longest, I mean, it depends. It's whatever where you're going. It's 3 months, 6 months, whatever. And so everybody was just I could never do that. And I'm like, well, it's not as bad as you think. I was like, so think World War II movie. It's not that bad.
Yeah.
And then think Hunt for Red October. It's not that nice. It's kind of somewhere
in the middle.
Somewhere in the middle.
My son was on an aircraft carrier. He was on the Truman.
Okay.
And at one time when they were back at port, we got to go on the ship and got to take a tour. And I think one of the things
while it was underway, like a Tiger Cruise, or
no,
they
did it, but we didn't get to participate in the Tiger Cruise. They were they were docked.
Yep.
And we got to go on, and he got to show us around. It was, it wasn't special. Everybody was doing it, but it was special to us. And
they're just huge. You
huge.
can't appreciate them until
you stand next to it.
Yeah.
On the dock, and you're looking at this city that just pulled up, and there's 5,000 people on there, and they go out for months and months and months, and it's just crazy. And I think the thing that impressed in my mind, I never stopped thinking about, was their sleeping quarters. It was three bunks, and you would lift the mattress, and there you had about that much storage, and there was a couple cubbies and a curtain you would pull, kind of like what you would imagine an inside of an RV or something, that have bunks like that. And but I remember like looking at it, and it crawled up in there, and it's like when you were laying down, the bed on top of you was like right here. If you're a big boy, it might be hard to roll over.
Yeah, I mean, getting comfortable is something you learn, but in the Navy, they're also very long days.
Yeah.
So you're just happy to sleep, and in submarines too, they'll have it's a very similar setup.
Yeah.
And you can also have, situations where you might be like what they call hot racking, where there's more than one person to a bed, and and you don't have near the hygiene facilities.
Yeah.
On a submarine. But I mean, it's a trade-off. It is what it is. Good food, better pay. And when you're 18 and you got a kid on the way and you're sitting at MEPS, and the recruiter comes over and you were going to do what they call an FT, or at least that's what they called it then. Who knows if they changed it? But it was you're a fire control technician, right? So you do weapon systems. Mm-hmm. And I was going to be on surface ships. That was the cool job. I did good enough on my ASVAB. Didn't want to go to nuke school. Because right out of the gate, that was an initial commitment. And so, you got a kid, you're already scared and nervous, and you're sitting down at MEPS, and they get this guy on the phone, talking to you about a waiver because you're, one of the 1 in 100 kids who admitted he'd smoked weed before. Oh, and they're like, we'll pay you more if you go in a submarine. I'm like, I'll take it. So
What'd you do? What was your job?
FT, fire control technician.
Okay.
Yeah, same exact job.
Yeah.
You just do it, underwater instead of above.
That's pretty serious.
You're on a boat instead of a ship.
That's pretty important.
Yeah. And I mean, it was good, but I got out of the Navy, and I come home, and I've already got 2 kids.
Yeah.
So I go right into college, became a paramedic firefighter.
Oh, nice.
And was doing that while I was in school, working at an emergency room in the evening. And the idea was to go from there. I'm like, man, I really have a knack for this. And I was going to go to PA school. Mm-hmm. And right as PA school was getting ready to start, my daughter's mom and I split up. So now I'm, single dad with 2 kids, and I don't have a 2-income house anymore. So that turns into, I just got to take a job.
You had custody?
Well, what we call it is just I was custodial.
Sure.
That was all.
Yeah.
And so I had an opportunity with some doctors that worked at the hospital one day. They were literally arguing in the emergency room about something. And I was like, oh, you're both wrong. It's Boyle's Law. And they're like, how do you know? I was like, you're talking about dive medicine. And they're like, yeah, I was in submarines. We learned all the properties of diving. And they were just joking. And they were like, oh, 2 days later, they invite me over to their house for lunch. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
He's like, so tell us, you know about submarines. I'm like, yeah. He's like, you know what hyperbarics is? And I'm like, yeah, I know what hyperbarics is. Hyperbaric chambers, decompression chambers. And he's like, yeah. Well, they were in the process of starting a hyperbaric chamber company, and I was employee number 1.
No way.
Yeah, just because I happened to...
You stuck your nose into the middle of an argument between 2 doctors.
Yeah, which you'll learn is very much my personality type. Yeah. Bret just kind of shows up, and does things. And so, I got very lucky, and that was the job that was making me some good money and got me benefits, and so I could take care of my kids. And then that job turned into a lot of travel.
Yeah.
And it didn't work because I was single dadding it. And so lo and behold, my dad was like, you could always come work at the dealership. Mm. So I took a summer off to go work at the dealership. And then the next thing I know, I was a car guy. Yeah. And that was it. Yeah. And then I met my wife, and the rest is history. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you get to go any place interesting when you were in the Navy?
Not really.
No.
Nowhere good.
Nowhere good.
Nowhere good. That's one of the downsides, submarines. If you're on a sub, you definitely want to be on Hawaii or San Diego or someplace cool where it's a little bit more. But yeah, nothing great. There's only so many places you can go. So
My son's my son-in-law is an EMT, and he's run ambulances, and he's currently an EMT in an ER in Lynchburg, and he sees some stuff. Mm-hmm. I bet you saw some stuff.
You definitely see some stuff. And I was what they call 7P to 7A, right? 'Cause it's all like 12-hour shifts.
Oof.
And
so you're overnight. You're seeing,
So 7P to 7A at what essentially was a county hospital in Cleveland. So University Hospitals is a county hospital, which means when all the other hospitals get busy, they can close their ERs to certain types of trauma, which means everything would get dumped at UH. So, I mean, it was, you saw a lot. Some of it definitely stuck with you in a bad way. But most of it was we had University Hospitals was known for its pediatrics wing. So it was the really sick kids and the trauma kids and the abused kids that was like, that'll wear you down. That'll wear down the best person after a while, seeing, kids come in and stuff like that. But I mean, I enjoyed medicine very much. I enjoyed being, living life with purpose. You know what I mean? That's doing something that not a lot of people could do, seeing the result of your work type stuff. It was good.
How'd you fill that gap? Because that's a really good point. Like you were at the tip of the spear there with people who are experiencing one of the worst things in their life for whatever reason. You don't show up at the ER because you're having a good day,
right?
And you got to play a role in helping them, and that's always that's great. That gives people purpose, like you said. So when you step away from that, did you find yourself kind of struggling with this hole of where you had a really big purpose and that involved helping other people get better?
Yeah. So, I mean, at the time, I didn't realize what it was that I liked about it. And then I went from the ER straight to the hyperbarics, which was also treating people. And because it was so new at the time and because our application was so new, we built large walk-in hyperbaric chambers that had like TVs in them and everything. And the science was very much that we had made practical hyperbarics for hospitals very safe by kind of just tweaking the technology a little bit. And our first client was the Cleveland Clinic, which was like, the holy grail of first clients, right? So if they sign off on you, everybody else pretty much just followed.
Right.
But we were treating people there, but there was a lot of things that hadn't been created yet. So I went and got a license to be like a certified hyperbaric technician. And then I'm at this company and we're treating people.
You say that like you just take a 2-hour course.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. It was a really good course actually, but you had to fly to San Antonio to do it.
Yeah.
Right outside the Air Force Base there, or someplace in Texas. I don't remember exactly where it was, and so I get back to work and I'm like, okay, I feel better about my job, more educated. But it was like, we don't have a training manual, so I'll write one. And it was like, we don't have a safety manual, so I'll write one. We don't have SOP, so I just started writing everything. And it's funny because like if you go to certain hyperbaric chambers that company had, for the longest time, the manuals and everything that we're using still had it was still my version with like my initials at the bottom. And I hadn't worked there for a long time.
Oh, that's funny.
Because I got, sucked into the car business. And then, in the car business, there was always a customer.
Yeah.
Or there was always employees. And, it was I was well into my 30s before I realized that what I enjoyed most about the job and doing things was having a large group of people kind of put you in a situation where like, I bet Bret will know the answer. Mm-hmm. I bet Bret will know.
Yeah.
Right. And growing up with my father, he always used to say, he'd call you and he'd be like, Killer. That was my nickname. Killer, where are you? I'm like, I'm in Toledo. What are you doing there? I'm like, that's where I came today, our store in Toledo. And he's like, oh, would you hear what happened to Amherst? No, because I'm not there. Like, how would I know? He's like, well, why don't you know? I pay you to know. Get over there and figure it out. And he'd just hang up on you. And I'm like, okay. So I learned really quickly on the only way to keep those calls from happening was to just try and over-communicate and know everything.
Keep your finger on the pulse.
Keep your finger on the pulse. And, every time I'd visit a different store every day and start in the service department and talk to everybody because it became really obvious that if people wouldn't bring a problem to you early, then you spent all day putting out big ones.
Yeah. But if you spent a little time checking in on everybody, you would see the problem sometimes before they did.
You had to be approachable.
Yeah.
And my father, and all the things that he's amazing at, was not.
Yeah.
He was not approachable. He was terrifying. He's a great guy, but he was terrifying at work, you know? So nobody would go ask him anything because they were scared to be like, why don't you know? You know?
Did you have that kind of relationship with him when you were younger?
Yeah. I mean, like growing up, I used to make the joke all the time between my dad and my grandfather. I thought my name was Stupid S.O.B. Because it was like, what are you, stupid? You know? But no, it was just, my mom was a business owner, manager type. My dad was a business owner, manager type. So growing up, we were definitely loved, and we didn't want for anything, but there was a transactional nature, to the very much like employee-employer kind of home relationship.
That's funny.
But, now that we're, older, it's one of the things that we like laugh about the most, which is, how weird it was, growing up. And then, people, and especially in the automotive space, who know my dad, and then they meet me, they're like, oh, yeah, it totally makes sense now. I get why you are the way you are. I'm like, exactly, right? While the other, I always tell everybody, I said, well, the other, 9-year-olds were getting, the boxcar children. My dad was giving me L. Ron Hubbard and Isaac Asimov books to read.
Oh, my gosh.
And we were talking about math and the theory of relativity at the dinner table, and he was explaining it to me using our really ugly 70s tiles in the kitchen. And if you didn't get it right away, it's like, I don't understand why you don't get it. It's simple. I'm like, okay, I'm 10.
There's a lot. Maybe that's the reason, Dad.
Yeah.
That's great.
I am Sheldon Cooper. I was not, apparently. But, it was good. I mean, it was just
What was
different.
What was his background? Where did he come from?
He, grew up Ohio. Actually, born on a Fort Bragg, I think. My grandpa was Army. One thing leads to another. They end up in Ohio, Strongsville. And my dad was a super nerd. He went to Ohio State for applied mathematics.
Okay.
Wanted to be a rocket scientist. And one thing led to another, and my grandpa got sick, or my dad's family ran out of money for him to go to college. So he took his last student loan check, and he built a float and threw a huge parade at one of the Ohio State parades where they were like getting tear gassed and stuff. And he was the resident advisor of the football players' dorm. So they threw a rager, and the next morning he went home and got a job, and that job was as a car salesman. And the next thing you know, one thing leads to another, and then he owned the place.
Yeah.
So that's how he went from NASA to an Oldsmobile dealership, you know. And
so you started in on the car business, and then you had a relationship with Buckeye, right? Because they were your dealership's reinsurance company, and then that led to you launching your own. Correct?
Yep.
Is National Reinsurance is yours?
No. National Reinsurance isn't mine. It's the non-automotive arm of Buckeye.
Non-automotive arm. Okay.
Yeah, I have the best gig ever. Says I essentially get to come and go as I please. I run around. I work hard, but I have no responsibilities and I have no employees. It's a good gig. It's a good gig. It's as close to owning your own business as you can get without actually having to deal with any of the stuff. Rob and Jason, who's kind of Rob's right-hand man, and even Sean, who's our chief legal counsel.
Peterson, right?
Yeah, Peterson, exactly. Yeah. They just kind of, I don't have. They don't expect me to run on rails like a train, but I just have bumpers.
Yeah.
And every once in a while, I get a little correction.
That's where all the creativity happens, right?
Exactly.
And you take a motivated, creative person, and you make those rails too close, you're going to kill them.
Yeah. So they just, let me figure things out, and we come up with ideas, and we brainstorm, and I mean, National Reinsurance was actually all referral based. It was clients of ours who had friends who were in this industry or that industry. Our first auto recycler is no different. It was S&W down in Georgia, the Siegs, Rick Sieg and his Amber and Dustin?
Okay.
Yeah, Dustin. And
so why does auto recycling fall under you said National Reinsurance is the non-automotive arm.
Main reason it's non-automotive is everything Buckeye dealership consulting or Buckeye risk related.
Yeah.
All the contracts, all the paperwork was dealership, 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 dealership. So we needed to start creating things that was more like producer. And then that producer can now be a roofing producer, an HVAC producer. So it was necessary to just recreate all of the contracts and recreate all the stuff that we needed. And then as we were doing that, then the business expanded. And it was like HVAC and roofing. So it was like, okay, well, rather than just having another contract, let's just create a whole different thing and put everything that's non-dealership specific underneath that. And that's how National Reinsurance was born. And it's, she's, 5 years old now? So
Yeah, and I think the first time I met you was in Reno? Or was it Kansas City?
No, the first time we met was Denver.
It was in Denver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because remember, your booth was like across my way. Just randomly walked over. I'm like, this guy looks cool.
Yeah. I do.
What do you do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do remember that. And I think I invited you to our, if I was doing my job, I invited you to our annual conference.
Yep.
And you came.
And we came.
And what year was that? What was that first conference that you came to? Do you remember?
It was the Reno one.
It was the Reno one. Okay.
Yeah, because we did Denver. And then
that was a state association.
And then it was next year was like the Orlando one, which was like the first URG PRP combo.
Yeah.
And then Reno came after that.
Yeah.
And so we had done a lot organically, just kind of talking to people and referrals and so obviously the S&W was a referral. And then
I was going to ask you,
getting to work with Sean Garber, that was because the Bywriters is what brought us together.
Okay. I was wondering where'd you make that leap from, roofing and HVAC and then you got to auto recycling. So Sean Garber was the catalyst?
He was 100% the catalyst.
Yeah.
Because we got together to talk about Bywriter.
Yeah.
Just from a Bywriter dealer to Bywriter dealer, and also, hey, I got to set up my reinsurance company for that. And then it was like, oh, I also do this. I'm like, oh, no kidding, so do we. And then, I had a conversation with him, and he totally gave it his blessing. He thought it was great. And then after that, he just was introducing me to people.
Yeah.
And then those people introduced me to people, and it just grew from there. So.
Yeah, I think you have one of the quickest curves from new kid on the block to a trusted resource that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I mean, that's been impressive how quickly you became a known entity in this industry, because normally it takes a while.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I think I feel like the first clients that we had absolutely was very lucky who they were, and then they introduced me to all the right people. And it's like, my first interactions in your industry were the Siegs, Sean, Jarrett, Christy, you, Zane, the Kaziskis. And it was like I just kept getting introduced to kind of like all the right people. And then they were just – Jarrett was – well, all of you, Christy, and Jarrett have all been way over the top good to me as far as answering my questions and educating me on things. And, when I would go to even to the seminars, I would never work my booth. I would always go into the classes, and then I would start talking in the classes, and they'd be like, "Who is this guy?" I'm answering questions and asking questions and learning stuff. I'm like, man, I had no idea.
It's that interjecting into the two doctors thing. It's just part of your DNA.
Yeah, it's just like, let's do it. And so I remember having conversations, and there was a presentation going on in Orlando, and I happened to know the answer, and so I started participating, and that turned into some open dialogue. And a later it was actually the Kaziskis, who are clients now. He goes, yeah, I remember I was in one of these presentations, and there was some guy up front, and he was answering all the questions. He goes, wait, that was you, wasn't it? I was like, that was me. I was like, I remember that, So that was fun. But going into the classes, learning everything, Sean Garber's crew was really good. And then I just started visiting the yards and kind of spending some time there, and then digging into the reporting. And that's when I started to realize some things. And I'm a big believer in in any industry that you're going to work in, you have to be more than just a vendor. Even as a business owner, for me, right? Like, one, I would never want to find out that I was doing business with somebody just because somebody told me I should, right? Like
That'll get you a conversation.
Yeah, it'll get you a conversation, right?
Yeah.
But then you got to
earn it.
You have to understand the business, right? So when I'm learning about tiering and brokering and Midwest and PRP and having conversations with everybody, and then, getting to spend, hours with, you guys and Jim McKinney, and they're just basically laying everything out and explaining it to me. Not even just the business side of it, but even just the inner workings of it, and just, every business has politics, right? And everyone helping me navigate that, and hey, here's how you work this, and hey, we actually work together, because in a lot of industries, one of the things you have to be real careful of is who you align yourself with, especially early, right? So to come into this industry, learn what I've learned, trying to walk what I thought was a tightrope of URG, ARA, PRP, different, who likes who and who works together. And then it doesn't take real long to figure out that this is one of the weirdest, most collaborative, while at the same time competitive industries. It's like, oh, that guy drives me crazy, but I do $300,000 a month with him. It's like, who does that? And if he needed anything, I'd give it to him right now. I'd drive over there and I'd help him, but he still drives me crazy. Yeah. And then to watch, you and the other, organizations, just, the way that you guys work together, and, the PRP URG relationship, and now the URG ARA relationship, and, you're relatively new. Christy's relatively new. And I just feel like there's this, it definitely feels like I came in at the right time.
Yeah, I would say so.
There was a changing of the guard. All of a sudden, everybody's open to new ideas. And then this guy shows up and he's got this thing, and we're like, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, we should do that.
I was gonna ask you. You began to unpack it already, but I was gonna ask you, you've got an interesting perspective. Not a lot of vendors out there who sell into the auto recycling industry have a view of other industries as well. And I was gonna ask you, okay, so what's it like? What are the differences between the auto recycling community and the used car industry and the roofing industry and is it that different?
I mean, it is and it isn't. The most interesting thing for me initially was, this is the only industry where I came in and I already knew a lot about it, because while I'm sitting in the room, everybody talks about the end user in all the classes. And I'm like, wait a minute, that's me.
You're the
end
user.
Know him.
Yeah.
And I was...
That was my perspective coming in, too.
I had no idea that any of this existed. I mean, the very first convention I ever went to, some of the first people I ran into were the Besslers. Yeah. And he's like, what are you doing here? I'm like, well, what are you doing here? And he's like, well, this is my industry. And I didn't know at the time that he had sold, because obviously I haven't bought parts from him in a while, but we bought parts from Bessler all the time. And then super small world, everybody in Ohio bought parts from Triplet. Right? And then now, they've got an auto recycling yard called, Bam Bam. And I get a phone call from my sister about 2 months ago. She's like, oh, I got a new job. I want to go do something. I'm like, oh, cool. Where are you working? She goes, this place called Bam Bam. Have you heard of it? I'm like, shut up. I'm like, are you really? So a really good friend of hers works there. Yeah. And so my sister is now, she doesn't really know what I do or get what I do. Yeah. So it was just kind of funny, small world. But I went to that first meeting and I knew all these people. And the first thing that happened when I was in Orlando at the show was all of my perceptions of your industry were shattered at the same time. Because I had no idea. I had just junkyard stuff. Yeah. You know what I mean? And again,
nobody really understands the professionalism and the complexity and the technology that this industry uses and does, until they pull back the curtain and take a look, and then everybody's blown away.
Yeah, and at the time, it's like your service managers are just ordering parts. So was I paying attention to how much was coming from eBay, how much was coming from LKQ, how much was coming from local yards? Did I know the difference between a URG or an ARA yard, somebody holding themselves to a different standard, or just some guy selling parts? No, I had no idea. So to me, it's all just, one thing. It's just a header. Yeah. It doesn't mean anything. So then when I got there and I start physically going places and seeing the operations and, you know, how do you dismantle 600 cars and then, you know, get everything going and do this and do that and get everything to the right spot. And I'm like, oh yeah, by the way, we've got this trucking company where we can pretty much get anything anywhere in 48 hours. I don't know, you know, it's just like, and then, you know, you start learning about the tiering and how, you know, a part will touch 22 sets of hands before it gets from one place to the next, you know, so you're in this class and you're in that class and you're learning about the industry, which was helping me so that I could show up and at least talk the talk, right?
Sure.
Speak the language. But the other thing that it was kind of like my brain was going like, I got a solution for that. I got a solution for that, right? And that's what turned into the first time I got asked to like give a presentation. I said, well, I'm not going to do it on reinsurance. So we actually did it on marketing to independent and buy here, pay here dealers.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, this is what we think of you. And let me tell you how come I know for sure.
Right. Right.
Because this is what I thought.
Yeah.
Right. And but the flip side of that is, here's what you guys aren't doing right as far as marketing directly to us.
Let's
and
talk
doing
about
this.
that.
Yeah.
Let's unpack
like,
this.
How
This
do you
is
do
great.
it?
And I know that like last year, Emily, Yancey, and I, and we came out and we spoke at the Buy Here, Pay Here conference, and you know, that was a really good experience. And we just talked to a room full of Buy Here, Pay Here dealers about the value of using recycled auto parts, keep their inventory running, keep their cars on the road, and at the end of it, we ran out of time. You had to usher me out of the room. We had hands going up. We had to get off the stage and had another conversation going on. It was really great.
Yeah, remember they asked us to leave
They did.
because the next class was trying to get started,
and we were still answering questions. So,
still answering questions.
So tell us about like what the perception is. I mean, we kind of already know what we're doing wrong because this is an important conversation.
Yeah, so I'm going to be expanding on this at the URG a little bit, and I'm trying to bring some of the yards that we do business with in to talk about it. But ideally, I think that the overarching theme is whenever I've been to a yard and they're giving you the tour, and you've been to yards and tours, right? And you're going on the tour and they start showing you everything, right? They always take you to the picture wall.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Here's where we started.
Here's where we started. Look at us now, right?
Yeah.
And it always goes from the ground photo to the aerial photo.
Yeah.
There's the aerial photo when we were small before we cleared out the other 15 acres, right? And when everything was just kind of thrown all over the place to now this monstrous area where tons of cement that they're proud of. And we built this building in, 99, and we built this building in this year, and this is how much we've grown. And you get that aerial photo. When people are driving past you, and when somebody looks you up online or when you go to your website or something like that, the impression that almost everyone in my industry has, street level. That's all we know about you, right? It's the first photo, not the one you're the most proud of.
Right.
Just, it's a junkyard. It's been there for forever. And you just assume, right? So if you Google that online right now and you see just horrible, not organized, parts on shelves, whatever. And then I show them what your places actually look like. Like if he showed them a picture of, M&M, they'd have no idea.
Yeah.
It blows my mind when I go to some of these places, right? Just the sheer number of parts, let alone the fact that they're coming in and out, nonstop, and all the people, the volume of it, and the tracking
are
of
you
it.
saying that one of the biggest opportunities is to keep your Google business page up to date with
It's
photos?
not even up to date
because
because they're not
missing the point.
No, they're not going there. My whole point is you have to meet them where they're at to break the perception.
Yeah.
Which is why are we not doing outside marketing? Because in the automotive space, anybody who sells us anything has a rep who shows up all the time unwanted because they provide a service or a software or they're trying to get you to buy more ad space or hey, is the DMS working?
They're a little less unwanted if they drop off a pizza.
Right, which is pretty much what their job is, right? They're well-dressed Uber drivers, Uber Eats.
With a business card.
Yeah, and everybody knows the insurance people bring candy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The service contract rep brings pizzas, or whatever you want for lunch that day.
Yeah.
And that's about the extent of the relationship. I mean, the Snap-on parts guy shows up all the time.
Sure.
To make sure the mechanics are, but you guys don't. So what happens is I don't have that relationship. So when the car comes in and I'm doing my reconditioning, ideally I'm trying to get that car ready to go for as cheap as humanly possible.
And as quick as you can.
As quick as you can. And quick and cheap, right? Everybody knows that cliche. It's not the same thing.
No.
And the other thing that you have is never assume at most dealerships that the person ordering the parts knows anything about cars or parts. It's usually some employee that's been grandfathered into
Why
it.
would they? Why would you take somebody who's a skilled person and have them do something that an unskilled person could do, right?
Right.
Like somebody who knows how to fix a car, you don't need to tie them up ordering parts.
No. And the software that you guys have is so far superior to what they have in their systems to actually getting the right part. So if you think, I think there's a big opportunity for those local yards or even for the associations to, we've talked about this.
Yeah.
Like you need to be at the same shows I'm at.
I know.
Meeting dealers where they're at, because it's like, if any one of these yard owners has said, hey, how'd you like to be in front of 500 people who would all might buy parts from you? And it's like, there's like 4 state shows around here that would probably give you more than that.
Yeah.
And I promise you, and I proved this to you in Vegas.
Yeah.
90% of the guys around here, they might get your parts, but the person who's actually in charge, he doesn't know you exist. And he also doesn't know to what extent you're actually giving him what he needs and everything like that, right? It's just this hodgepodge of some, service clerk who's got 97 windows open on her, Chromebook, and she's just trying to order parts as quick as she can. And there's no real...
And there's a value in making her life easy.
Well, there's a value in making her life easy. There's also a value in having those relationships.
Yeah.
And anywhere that your local trucks go or anybody that you can help in a short period of time, the yards that have the capacity to should be dominating that local market versus everyone else. Everybody hates going to certain places because returns are difficult or, there's all these types of issues. And we just didn't know. I didn't know. And I know how involved I was in our service operation across, all the different stores. I bought a lot of cars. I made a lot of decisions on reconditioning. And I just always assumed, well, he'll figure out the best place. And that just, you realize now that that's just not the case. That there's, not all car dealers are created equal. Not all recyclers are.
Right.
And relationships matter. And you want to, I think that there's just a lot of opportunity to become a first call or definitely higher up, on the phone tree.
Yeah, and I think that hinges on how much of a resource can you become, right? To help the lady ordering the parts and the technician who's diagnosing the problem and's got to fix it.
Yep.
If you become part of the solution more than just a cog in a process, then you're going to get the call the next time. We've talked about going to these state shows. Did you what just wrapped up? NADA?
NADA. Yep.
Yeah. Did you go to that?
I didn't go, but we were there.
You were there?
We were there.
And then we got NIADA is in Miami?
Yep, there's NIADA. It's in Denver this year.
Denver. What's going on in Miami? I was just looking at it. Oh, it's Used Car Week. Have you ever done that?
Used Car Week.
I used to do that when I was with Manheim and Copart.
And then there's a ton of state associations.
Yeah, so that's
Texas
really,
has like 5.
I know.
Florida,
I'm really hoping to get to
Georgia's
as many of those as I can this
Virginia,
year.
the VIADA has a great association.
Yeah, I know. Alvin
Melendez.
Yeah, Melendez.
And his wife Tommy.
Great guy.
Yeah.
Great people.
He knows everyone.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, and so it's. I just think.
And I knew him from my time at Manheim, right?
Right.
And and so him and his wife, wonderful people. And we didn't really interact a whole lot. He knew who I was. I knew who he was. That was about it. And I remember I called him up one time, and I just wanted to pick his brain. And no problem. We went and had lunch. He was so nice. I think made lunch or dinner, whatever it was. We had a meal, and he was super nice. And that was before he was executive director of VIADA. Yeah, he's been doing that for a while, but they've always been good people.
Yeah, and the state associations are realizing now too that growth has to come not only from more dealer interaction, but vendor partners.
Yeah,
it has to be vendor partners because it's economy of scale. Your network becomes my network, and vice versa. And My company we leveraged those relationships heavily on the automotive side. And I mean, as you know, from, my Facebook page and everything, like we are well traveled. Like
Yes,
I am
you
on
are.
the road a lot.
You are.
So now between the automotive shows, the roofing shows, I mean, I've been to 2 roofing shows in January.
Wow.
One in Vegas, one in Oklahoma City, HVAC shows, all the auto recycling shows. I mean, like I'm already, obviously I'll be at URG, I'll be at Reno, I'm going to ARM, I'll be at Arnie, I'll be at Midwest, I'll be at Greater Midwest, I'll be at FADRA.
Keep going. I haven't heard my favorite one.
Which one? ARA?
Thank you.
Yeah, they do have a show. I remember that.
Yeah.
I'll be there. And now that we've got proof of concept, I'm a firm believer in, if you're going to do it, you show up everywhere, educate yourself as much as you can, be valuable. And then, I mean, our business is 100% referrals and shows.
Yeah.
We don't cold call. I'm never just going to show up at a yard or try and make an appointment.
Sure.
It's all relationship building, and if they're you do right by enough people, then it really shouldn't have to be that much.
Yeah, and I think that's a key component for the automotive recycling industry is once you establish not everybody will decide that that's a product that they want to use, but as long as nobody has anything bad to say about you,
Yep.
you're going to be welcomed in like family.
Yeah, and I mean, protecting your reputations is good, but it's also just do what you say you're going to do.
Do what you say you're going to do. Yeah.
I forgot somebody who I have to mention.
Go ahead.
Jared Hund.
Yeah.
G-Core Jared.
Oh, G-Core Jared.
G-Core Jared has been super good to me too. He's
Yeah.
another Ohio guy.
Ohioan.
Yeah, so we had that bond, and
Yeah.
he's been really good to me, and he's traveled around and introduced me to folks, and he became another fast friend for sure. So I'm looking forward to him and hoping that he gets what he needs here soon and takes care of himself health wise.
He's been public about it, so
Yeah.
I don't mind saying it. He's needing a kidney, and
Yeah.
everybody's been praying for him, and he had a false alarm last week.
I got so excited. I
Everybody
texted
did.
him and I was like,
Yeah.
oh.
Yeah. So
But everything happens for a reason.
That's right.
I was like, I said, better they found out ahead of time than
yeah.
they put it in and
And
you
that
had
would've
some
been
horrible
bad.
thing. But so
So
and I'm sure I'm missing people, but so many people have been good. Like I said, Kristen and Christy and Amanda and everybody
Yeah.
has just been good, and made friends with Junior and
Lots-
yeah, man. I
mean, you could- yeah.
I've got stories already. I don't feel like I've been here that long.
Yeah.
So
it's funny.
some I have to keep secret. So that's a good thing.
It's a good thing. Yeah. So, my gosh, you travel. You do travel a lot. How many trips a year? You have any idea?
Yeah.
You do, don't you?
I do. I track it pretty good. So just so far this year, I have a minimum of, like, scheduled now, not including anything that'll pop up. I've got 68 nights. So you figure double that, it's at least 120 flights there and back.
Yeah.
So I remember like 3 years ago, I was on my last flight. It was like December 20th. I'm coming home for Christmas, and I'm flying Delta because I'm spoiled with Delta. I love them. And the flight attendant comes over. She's like, "Hey, how's it going, Brett?" I'm like, "Oh, so good to see you." She's like, "You heading home?" I'm like, "Yeah." And she's got her little red Delta phone. She's like, "Oh, you almost made it." I'm like, "What do you mean?" She's like, 149. And I'm like, "What's that?" She's like, "Oh, you got 149 flights. You almost made it to 150. I'm like, "Your phone tells you that?" She's
Wow.
like, "Yeah." And that's when I went back, and I'm like, "Man, that's about right." But we're
Have you ever had to make a flight for status? Just a end of the year flight? No.
never.
Yeah. I had a buddy of mine who did that. Who I've known more than one persons who have had to do this, but several years ago, a friend of mine, I was talking to him. I go, what are you doing? He goes, "I got to fly to Colorado from here." I go, "What for?" He goes, "I just gonna fly there." He'd literally get off the plane, get back on the plane, and come back, and that was all he needed. He goes, "I just happened to be looking at it, and I realized I was like one flight short, certain number of miles. Looked around, booked it."
Yeah, no, I'm usually, like, I keep my diamond status, but I'm usually diamond by April.
Gotcha.
So you just keep it every year. I mean, and that's how they get you.
Yeah.
It's the loyalty.
Yeah.
It's being able to not buy a first class ticket, but fly first class 99% of the time.
Yeah.
And when something happens that, even this morning, like when I called, They were like trying to book me a flight on another airline
Wow,
to
that's
get me
old
here.
school. That's like they used to do. Remember?
Oh yeah, no, they're super, super good to me, and that's why.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm hardcore Delta for sure. They've been really good.
What do you do for fun?
Lots of stuff. Fun for my wife and I usually consists of we're obviously we do a lot of running and fitness stuff together.
Oh, that's right.
We love that.
What was the benefit run you did?
Oh, the
last
Goggins
year?
Challenge.
The Goggins Challenge.
Yeah, we do the Goggins Challenge every year for charity.
So what is that?
Goggins Challenge is it's like a
24-hour thing.
it's technically an ultra marathon. It's 48 hours.
48 hours.
So you run 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours. And the idea is you do it without sleep. Like you can cat nap, but I can tell you it makes it harder
It's worse.
if you sleep. It makes it way worse if you sleep.
I'm going to take your word on it.
But there's no way to train for it, really. There's no way for it to not kind of suck. There's no way for it to not hurt, and get painful. So it's definitely a mental toughness event, but we do it to raise money for drug and alcohol addiction and mental health, suicide prevention. We lost my wife's sister to a heroin overdose.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it sucked. It was pretty bad. I took it pretty hard.
How long ago was that?
15 years now.
Yeah.
Because my son is actually my nephew. So we adopted him when he was 8 after she passed away. She was actually living with us. We were kind of working with her, trying to, get her through it, and took our eyes off her one night, and that was it.
That's terrible.
And then,
sorry.
And then we also lost my nephew, who was an Army veteran, to suicide. So for my 40th birthday, I was like, I'm going to do this Goggins Challenge thing, because that's when David Goggins was like on the scene, and he's out there yelling at everybody like, get hard, I'm like, I'm gonna get hard, what I mean? David Goggins told me I feel better if I just run all day.
Do you?
No, you do at the time. You do at the time. You do. It's and it was the message I needed at the time for sure.
Yeah.
So anyways, I'm gonna do this first event, and everyone's like, you're crazy. And I'm like, I'm gonna do it.
Was last year the first time?
No, this is the 4th one.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So 4 years ago, did the first one, and literally just started going to the gym in the morning, leaving the gym, would pull underneath a street light in the gym, and just start shooting a video and just talking about whatever, mental health or motivational type stuff. And I was thinking about this today, and it wasn't meant to be anything other than a personal accountability drill.
Right.
Because I committed to doing this thing, and so I was just talking about it, and I was being really honest about what happened with Katie and Justice and personal stuff, and I wasn't paying attention to insights or tracking or anything.
That's not why you were doing it.
No. And then it turned into, as I'm traveling, everybody's like, oh man, I love your videos, and getting text messages. And
if you skip a day,
people
are like, hey,
what happened?
Yeah.
So now you got to go, right?
Yeah.
So you get it. That's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
And it worked great. And so my goal that first year was, I'm going to do this race. I'm going to raise $5,000. That was my goal. I'm going to donate it to like Mission 22 or something. And then when this is over, I was doing it to Mission 22, and I was giving the other money to some local drug place, right? Just kind of splitting the funds. Mm-hmm. And I was like, when this is over, I'm going to let myself off the hook and kind of start trying to put those failures behind me, right?
What do you mean? What failures?
Just, how it is. That's kind of survivor's guilt. Like I should have done more type of stuff,
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. Well, that first year we ended up raising like $40,000.
What did you say your goal was? 10?
$5,000.
5?
Yeah. And it was like Facebook.
Yeah.
And
it was the videos.
It was
right?
the videos
Built
that
a
people would
community.
show up,
Yeah.
and I just did a GoFundMe. And I remember like every year you'll get a handful of them, but you'll get a donation for like $6. And I'm like, that's cool.
Yeah.
Like the big ones are awesome.
Yeah.
Right. The $5,000 ones and stuff like that. Like those are really good. And I appreciate
one
them.
probably was more of
Yeah.
a sacrifice.
And
right?
sometimes you
Maybe.
can see who sent it,
Yeah.
so you'll look them up and it'll be like some, 19-year-old kid or
Yeah.
somebody like that. And I'm like, man, it was weird to participate in anything that actually had impact. Mm-hmm. So, fast forward 4 years later.
This is in your DNA. It goes back to the EMT thing.
Goes back, yeah. So 4 years later, it's now a passion project, and I enjoy doing it. I kind of love-hate doing
Sure.
it because yeah. But now that turned into actually we were raising so much money we had to actually create a foundation. And then I got asked to the 2 organizations that I donated money to be on the boards for those things. So what started out as being like just little project turned into this huge like emotional money raising event. And then you start meeting people out on the street and they recognize you, or people in the automotive industry would talk to me about it. And then the weirdest thing came when you started getting phone calls on Facebook from strangers who were in crisis.
No.
And I was like, I don't know what to do.
Oh, wow.
I don't know how to answer this phone call. Or these big, long text messages.
What'd you do?
I was just honest. Like, hey, dude, I'm not a professional.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not a professional, but I can get you in touch with the right person, right? Kind of, again, kind of going back to that, if you need something, call me. And if I don't know the answer, I promise you I know somebody who does, or I'll at least find it.
I know a guy.
And that turned into that. And the one that really got me was I'm sitting on the edge of my bed one morning, and I wake up, and there's this,
novel
instant message.
Yeah.
And I'm reading it. And at the bottom of it, there's a picture. And my wife's, in the bathroom getting ready, and I'm reading it. And she's telling me all about how she lost her son and, in college, at a party. And he tried something or did something, had a bad experience, and he overdosed. And my wife comes in and she's like, hey, by the way, I was thinking later. And I turn around.
Puddle.
She's like, are you okay? And I'm like, and I was just, and that was the first message I got. Complete stranger. No idea who the lady was. Wow. And then it's always just kind of been from, kind of gone from there. And it turned into this thing. And now we've got the foundation, and we're going to, start doing some golf outings. I've got an idea for a 24-hour run, but it's all on treadmills. Mm-hmm. So think like the awesomest spin class ever with like DJs and food trucks and everything. But if you sponsor a treadmill, I'm going to be on the treadmill for 24 hours. You've just got to keep your treadmill going for 24 hours. So you could like recruit some friends, go on for a little bit, and there'll be like a 70s theme. I'll change clothes and, put on some neon tights or whatever. Sweat to the oldies or something.
I love it.
So we're gonna
whole Richard Simmons vibe.
Absolutely. So we're gonna have some fun with it, and so that's been good. We're big boaters. We love boating. But other than that, I mean, we've had 5 kids.
Do you fish or you just boat?
Just boat. Fish when we were like little, but right now it's more just pleasure cruising and island hopping and stuff like that. So
where?
That's fun. All over Lake Erie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I mean, it's not cool. Island
Sounds
hopping.
cool to me.
When you're in Ohio,
we
get a 3.5 month
generally miserable on a boat, so
it's really difficult.
You gotta be a certain kind of angry person.
Yeah, you gotta be a special kind of person to be angry on a boat, or something broke.
Or you own the boat.
Yeah. So no, but we do a lot of that. But we're kind of
And your daughter's in cheer.
She's
travel.
Our youngest is competitive cheer, travel cheer, which is every weekend.
How does that make you feel when they throw? Does your kid get thrown up in the air?
Yeah, she's a flyer, what they call a flyer.
Oh my gosh! How do you deal with that?
So it's weird during the shows. For some reason, it's less scary because it's like you're in the moment. And in this event, like they put you right up front as the parents, and you're supposed to, like, the whole point is you're supposed to lose your mind and cheer. And we have like special, claps that we do, and so everything is always Top Gun, like that's our thing, and we get that cheer going. And I have more bedazzled clothes than any grown man should admit to.
Yeah, that's true.
We go all into it, but she loves it, and we were kind of that way with all of our kids. Our oldest daughter Kaylee was a big dancer. Okay, multiple costume changes and traveling around, and then we had the travel soccer for the girls, and then the cross country and track. So we've always been weekend warriors, when it comes to parenting and taking them places. And
I just think that tossing them up in the air would really, that would be tough for me.
It is, but it's not until they do what's called stunting.
Okay.
Stunting is when your 12-year-old goes to the gym with some 21-year-old kid from Ohio State who's clearly in better shape than you are, and he grabs your 12-year-old daughter and he just heaves her in the air. And every time she doesn't do something right, he just catches her. It's no big deal. I can't watch that one.
Yeah.
He catches them every time, but sometimes they throw up, and as the girls are learning, Well, their body control isn't what it used to.
Right.
So then all of a sudden, you know, she goes straight up and then she starts drifting over. And these guys just kind of reach out and grab them, or they dive
Oh, my God.
and catch them. The coolest part is when your daughter gets back up, she's like, okay, well, I'll do it better this time. And she just does it again. Wow. And then she does it again. So it's like, if it was your son and he was, you know, getting knocked over on a ice hockey rink or tackled 100 times by football, you'd be like, yeah. But when it's your little girl, you're like,
I don't know.
No.
I think I would still, I mean,
It's
I would
scary.
still have some anxiety about, you know, watching my kid get banged up, but that's part of it, I guess.
It is. But she loves it. She actually had her first fall.
She okay?
Yeah, she was totally fine.
Good.
The falls, they can be bad, but they tend to be kind of controlled crashes.
Yeah.
Because as a sport, I mean, they really are kind of looking out for each other.
Yeah.
And you got 28 kids in unison, you know, doing all these flips and twists, and I call them all the wrong things. I'm like, Dad, a double twister. She's like, it's called a full. I'm like, it's a double twister.
You twisted twice.
You twisted twice. It's
That's
a double twister. Yeah. I don't know who made up these names, but
They don't
I could have
go
done a
with
better
it.
job.
They don't really describe what you're doing.
Yeah. So I don't know what any of the terminology is or how the scoring actually works. I just know that when we're there, I think we should win every time.
Yeah. You know, you're in charge of logistics, finance.
I pay for things. I make friends with the other parents.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I
great.
do. So
You know, it's funny you were talking about how you start doing something and then it becomes expected. It becomes this thing that people expect of you. And I had a taste of that. Nothing is noble as you're experiencing raising money. But my wife and I went on vacation last year, and we went to Italy. It was the first big trip we've ever taken, you know, outside of the country, like big trip. And we were about a day or two in, and probably maybe just a day in, and we did it very unique, right? So we rented a camper van.
I followed you every day.
So we rented a camper van, and we had a camper van with 7 days, and we had like 3 places we knew we wanted to go. And then outside of that, it was like we'd wake up and go, where are we going? And we'd just drive our little camper van, and we'd find some beautiful spot. And then the second half of it was on a sailboat. So wake up after the first day, and I'm already realizing this is how epic this is. And I decide I'm just gonna start writing stuff down on my phone. I'm like, I even tried doing it. I brought my laptop because I thought I was gonna work.
Yeah.
It became like I just hauled it around Italy for 2 weeks. But
We all pack our laptops with us because
Yeah.
it makes us feel like we're good
It's a
employees.
security blanket.
Absolutely. Just in case something bad happens, I got to have my whoopee with me.
yeah. I think I pulled that. I got it out maybe 2 or 3 times in 17 days, and that was it. Right? And I didn't even use it on the airplane. Anyway, so I start writing down what we had experienced the day before, and I was really focused on like the people that we saw and the vibe, and because like I had hundreds of photographs on my phone, I didn't need to really dive into all that. I wanted to and I was doing it so I could remember. I was like, I don't want to forget this. This is so cool. And so I did it. And then at first I sent it as a text to my family, to my mom, my brothers, my kids, day one, you know, And then I posted it on Facebook. And then I started, and then day 2, I did it 3, 4, day 5. And I think at that point, and immediately I saw that this was, because I thought day 1, this is a really long, I remember thinking this is a really long
Nobody's going to go
post.
all the way down.
Nobody's going to go all the way down. And every once in a while, I'll bury something in there, and it's just to see if somebody.
Little Easter egg?
Yeah, little Easter egg. And it became very apparent right away that there was a not everybody, but there was a group of people that were reading and enjoying it. And then we were a few days in, and I said to her, I'm like, I don't know, I think I'm just gonna. I said, I feel like I'm stuck now, you know, and I don't think I'm gonna do it. And she said, no. So she's like, no, people are texting me. You got to keep doing it. And I think we were over there on Mother's Day, and I didn't post on Mother's Day. I recorded a video. I actually recorded. I knew exactly what I wanted to say. It was for my mom, and so I knew exactly what I was going to say, and I translated it and I studied. This is early. I'm an early riser. So this is like 6 a.m. I'm walking around Brogita, I think it was, this little island that we went to. And I'm out loud. I'm saying it over and over again. So then I make a video, and I send it to my mom in Italian, wishing her a happy Mother's Day. But I didn't write anything that day. And there was a small uprising. And so I had to get back to it. It's like what you were saying. Like you start doing these things.
Yeah.
And I did it for me. But it turned out after a while I was enjoying doing it for everybody. So
yeah. And I think for me the takeaway was, one, it can start to feel like pressure. And I always wonder, like a lot of these, Instagrammers and these influencers, it's like, how do you do that? And I think that some of it's entertainment value. Obviously, some of them, it's for attention. And, obviously it's a revenue generator. If that's your job, then awesome, right?
Right.
But I think with like those long posts and the long videos and being a person with like no training or no anything and shooting a video and then realizing that like by the end of the day, 1,800 people have watched it. And a couple months later, it's thousands.
Yeah. And
then the comments reach the hundreds.
Yeah.
Even when they're long videos or long posts, it's when you realize that in the age and of all the BS, sincerity gets sniffed out real quick nowadays.
You're right. You're right.
You know what I mean? You just can't fake it.
No.
So
the
people,
converse of that, the other side of that coin is that people will sniff out fake
real fast.
real
fast. And so for me, and I've talked about, my men's group.
Yeah.
So Kings and Priests, and I go with those guys. And
so do you mind?
No.
Talk about what that is.
So Kings and Priests is think of it like a Christian men's vestige group, right? So we get together, and it's all about, fitness. So we have pillars, right? So it's faith, family, fitness, and finance. And then faction, which is also, having fun. And we focus on our faith, and we fellowship together. And it's not for people who already have faith, right? Of all the men in the group, when we originally formed it, I definitely struggled the most, without a doubt. And we've had that conversation before too.
Yeah.
And then, and then it's family, and then you have your fitness, right? And so we go over these things, and when we get together, it's like every morning starts with a workout, and we're journaling, and we're in the Word a little bit, and we spend time together, and then we go and we do things. We call it like walk and talk, and these are the guys that you're
supposed. Is this a daily thing?
No, it's not.
Okay.
It's not daily.
Okay.
So the journaling and everything, that's part of that Kingdom Codex, right?
Okay.
The book and the journal, which we're selling 25 of those a day.
Wow.
So obviously there's a calling for it, of some kind. But just like our core group, it's every other Wednesday. We do like a Zoom call with each other, break into groups, talk about stuff. And it could be one guy is just going through it, and he takes over the whole meeting. There's guys thinking about selling their companies. There's guys thinking about buying a company.
This is a group of business owners or high performers?
Yeah, but it's not mandatory.
Yeah.
Right. It's just happens to be that's just kind of where it started from. You know what I mean? But it's anyone who is trying to fill that gap between how do you balance being a better person, a better father, a better businessman, have a better relationship with God, all those things. And, it's a lot. And it can be difficult to...
And sometimes they feel like they're running against each other or competing with each other.
So it's really nice to have a group where it's truly just that kind of iron sharpens iron. You know what I mean? Just like 20 groups, where the profit team groups, right?
Yeah.
But the whole point of getting together with other guys like you, whether they're in the same business or not, is because there's questions I don't have anybody else I can ask. There's things I'd love to get off my chest I don't think other people can understand. And sometimes having those conversations with someone who's not necessarily in your circle, I always tell them, they're like, why is it so much easier to talk to those guys than maybe other people? I say, because they're my friends and we kind of have this understanding, but because they're just slightly outside of my bubble, like they can't hurt me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They can't mess anything up for me. They're not going to.
And this thing, thing is the foundation of the connection too.
Absolutely.
Right.
So we do the Kings and Priests, and we've actually got what we call a Kingdom Week coming up in March, 26th, 27th, and 28th, which is one of the gentlemen who started it, Michael Munsterman, who's a client and a good friend. He bought 150 acres down in Missouri and basically turned it into like this huge retreat. And so we all get together there, and a lot of these guys this time are going to be strangers, and you spend 2-3 days together kind of going after it. It's kind of like those things you see online, like the warrior camps and everything, but it's faith-based. So we use that, and that's been really good. But, you know, even after this year's events, posting all the time, posting where I was all the time, me being on the go and visiting clients all the time and working out every morning and doing the Goggins Challenge and raising money and being motivating. And all these people go, oh, man, I love your posts. I love your posts. And then it got to the point where they wanted me to start, like, leading my own group, like breaking off and having, like, my own group of people to lead. And to me, I was like, nah, I didn't know right away. I'm like, because then all of a sudden everything felt like pressure.
Did you end up doing it?
So we're starting it now, like, with a group, like, at my local church. But it was like, that's when it became, you started to see things like, well, when you don't post, it's like, oh, where have you been? And they're not that people are giving you a hard time, but it's like, all of a sudden you're expected to do it, right? And then it stops. It kind of has that thing where, like, is this still purpose, or now is it just more pressure? It's like, and can I really maintain this when I'm on the road this much and wanting to shut off? And so,
do you ever find yourself thinking about not starting something because you're concerned that you won't be able to keep it up?
Oh yeah. Well, and it was not only that, but it was also like, I'm in, you know, Richmond, Virginia right now, right?
Fredericksburg.
That's right. I was supposed to fly into Richmond. Yeah, still got Richmond on the brain. And I've got to, you know, hurry up and fly home the next day. And when you post, oh, I'm going to do this, it's like somehow I feel like I'm slighting all the people who I know in this area that I couldn't make time to see.
Because they're going to reach out. Why didn't you come see me,
bro? And so it's like, I want to continue to post and stay relevant, because I want people to know that I'm out there and I'm meeting with this person, I'm doing this, and I'm going to this show, and I'm supporting this industry, and I'm supporting that industry. And I need that, because it's part of my business. It's part of who I am, right? I'm the Buckeye Bret. I'm the traveling guy, the guy who's, you know, everywhere all the time, and it's worked really well for me. But, you know,
and you have an interesting. Is this a strategy, or is this just like you market you, like you are your brand, not like people know, oh, it's Bret with National Reinsurance, but you don't spend any time talking about your product.
Right.
It's intentional. You talk about, you know, you're talking about how hard you're working, what you're doing, where you're going, who you're meeting, all of these other things, which is a unique strategy for a sales guy.
Yeah. So I think it served a couple of purposes. One, when you're in an industry like the automotive space, and everybody's selling widgets, why run around convincing everyone mine's better?
That's a good answer.
That is a losing battle.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm going to compete in a market that I can win. I'm smarter than the rest of these guys. I'm more accessible than the rest of these guys. I've owned a business before. So let's talk about your business, and then we'll talk about ourselves. And if your business works for me, and if we like each other, then the conversation is, what is it that you do? I'm like, I'm glad you asked.
Yeah.
And that's kind of been the model.
And it works.
And it worked. And then also people knew I was with Buckeye, so they knew what I did. But you, as a salesperson, if you really want to disarm someone, show up to their business and don't talk about yourself or your product for the first hour. And usually what happens is you end up having, one, a better relationship. Two,
you better darn sure be likable.
Yeah. Well, you got to be likable.
That's pretty important.
But you also end up finding out all the things that you needed to know to be the better vendor without trying to just run them through the same 50 questions.
Yeah.
It's just like, hey, tell me about your business. You know, what's going on? What do you like about it? What do you not like about it? What do you like about your current vendor? What don't you like? But when you just start talking to them
Tell
like
me about
an
your
industry,
business.
yeah,
That's a question I ask all the time. When a recycler calls up and they want information or certification and I make sure to give them the information, but I'm just curious. It wasn't a strategy. I'm just curious because as you mentioned, there are so many different types of auto recyclers, right? And nobody does it the same. And so I always thought it was a question born out of curiosity, and it was a question obviously to help me get to know the person. And tell me about your business.
Yeah, and it's a sales tactic, but it's not a disingenuous one. Because what happens is if I come into any yard or a roofing company or whatever, and I don't know about their business, well, then what I do is I'm forced to come in and tell them about my product and explain to them an application, and I'm rubber stamping you.
Yeah.
It doesn't work because
And
without knowing.
Sometimes it might work, but then it don't stick.
No, it won't stick. Or more often what happens is you'd be like, let's even say like I'm just using a random number. Like, okay, so let's say at the end of the month you owe your reinsurance company $100,000. And I use that number.
Yeah. Yeah.
For 75% of the guys are like, okay, $100,000, no big deal.
Yeah.
For somebody who maybe isn't there yet.
Yeah. Now you've just spooked them.
And they're done.
Yeah.
It's completely done. So it's just like, no, I'm not.
They're like in their mind, this ain't for me.
I'm not trying to manipulate you. I'm not trying to do anything. But it's like, at the end of the day, whether we do business together or not, I want you to be like, I bet Bret will know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whether it's an insurance thing. Because I know for a fact I spend more than 50% of my time talking about things with clients that have nothing to do with reinsurance at this point.
Yeah.
Nothing. It's loans and investing.
I think for a lot of people,
I
think there's a lot of people out there that doesn't make sense. And I think there's a lot of people, I'm one of them, that makes total sense. But for me, it goes back to the fact that I figured out what to do. But I like people. So it's like you could plug me in anywhere, and I just like people. So plug me in. I'll go find some people, and I'll start talking to them. I'll learn as much as I can about them. I'll share about myself, and then if I've been given a bag of widgets somewhere along the line, there's going to be a transaction. Yeah,
100%. And it's always like not today. I mean, I have some of the first people I talk to are amazing referral sources for me, especially in this industry. And I mean, everybody knows who they are. I try not to name drop for the sake of name dropping, but I have relationships in auto recycling and roofing with people who aren't doing business with me for one reason or another yet, but still tell everybody if I'm planning on, working with him, or I'm planning on working with that, or I've connected, yards with dealers or specific yards with this specific state association, or we also work with like some of the why am I drawing a blank right now? Like Go Powertrain.
Some of the
the reman companies, right? And it's like, okay, hey, well, this would be a really good relationship with you, and let me introduce you to some of this new car traffic, because that's who he works with, and stuff like that. And I very much enjoy being useful and being able to solve problems. And that's why this
is a theme
business has been good for me, because I'm used to owning a business and having problems to solve and employees and all those things. So the next best thing for me is to hang out with business owners, talking about business owner stuff, having business owner level conversations, and solving business owner level problems. Yeah. And that's why it's been... And it's also kept me from feeling the need to have to go start over something from scratch. Although Sean Garber jokes all the time, he goes, "You're going to end up owning a damn yard one day. You watch."
I was wondering, is that do you feel that itch yet?
No.
Mm-mm. Yeah, that's a lot.
It is a lot. I mean, I could see myself doing something.
I thought I was getting the itch a few years ago, and then I realized how much I enjoy moving, and if I were to do that. If you were to do that, you are grounded.
For sure.
You're grounded. If you're going to be serious about it, you're grounded.
Right before COVID, I was this close to starting over and buying a Chevy dealership. Yeah. And the gentleman I was buying the store from, his wife got sick. And I was in no hurry. But I had an idea. I was going to buy the Chevy store. I had a kind of a unique business model I wanted to try running out of it. I have no doubt that I would have been successful. I would have made it work. To what scale, I don't know. And we'll never know now. But I put that off. And because I put that off, that's how I ended up here. And when I agreed to go work with Rob at Buckeye, my first day on the job, officially, March 2nd, 2019, country shut down 6 months later.
Yeah.
I was like, how am I doing?
Yeah.
And then of course I went from, having 200 employees and 7 dealerships and a whole bunch of things to do and all these things to keep me busy to now I can't fill an 8-hour day. They've shut the entire country down. And oh, by the way, all my kids are home, so I'm also a kindergarten teacher.
Yeah.
So it was like the worst.
Yeah.
So I literally spent all of that time on Facebook, on LinkedIn. I took all the tutorials, and I did a demo or had a phone call with anyone I could find who wanted to have a conversation. Industry partners, then I didn't care what they were selling. I'm like, let's talk. And so I just started educating myself and learning how to network, and because I had to switch my brain from inside sales to outside. So I just spent all day talking to outside sales guys. And it was 6 months later when I realized, like, in all the Facebook forums and in all the chat groups, I would spend all day in there educating myself, seeing what they were giving free advice. Oh, I do this. Turns into like a 2-hour phone call with some guy that's never met.
Yeah.
Helping people find, hey, I need a car picked up in Minnesota. Does anybody know anybody up there? And I'll never forget it. And that was exactly what happened. It was somebody looking for a car in Michigan in one of the Facebook groups on the automotive side. And somebody who I didn't know goes, I wonder if that Bret guy will know. And it was at Bret L. Buick. And that was like my first tag ever, like 6 or 7 years ago now. And then it turned into helping this person with that and helping this person with that. And then it was kind of like, what do you do? Like, you're not a repo guy.
Yeah.
You're not an insurance guy. And I was like, oh, I do this. And then once we were able to travel again, man, it just took off.
Wow.
But I spent 6 months Facebooking.
You spent 6 months building relationships the only way the country would let you.
Yeah.
And then as soon as it opened back up, you leveraged all of them.
Every single one.
Yeah.
And I just went, and me and Jason, who's my boss, and he's our chief revenue officer, we were 150 days a year on the road for 3 years straight. Mm-hmm. And by the time we were done, we turned around, and there was just a massive wake of reputation and new business behind us. And we were exhausted.
Yeah, I bet.
Just absolutely exhausted.
I bet.
And we hired, and then we started backfilling the team. And, Rob, who owns the company, just, every 6 months it was like there was another chess move on the board. And we just kept kind of going back. And then the national reinsurance stuff started to happen. And we fell into this industry and fell into that industry. So it has been anything but boring. It has been anything but slow. And I've made just a lot of good relationships and a lot of friends along the way. So it's been fun.
So if somebody were to ask your kids, what does Dad do? Mm-hmm. What would they say?
Oh, now?
Yeah.
I don't know.
They don't understand reinsurance, right?
No, they'd probably just say like, oh, he does something in insurance, or he's in finance. Like that comes out. Leslie's always like, he's in finance.
My kids are adults now, but they used to say, what they would say is, oh, Dad, he travels a lot. He goes to dinner and he talks to people, and then eventually they give him money.
Yeah.
And it has something to do with cars.
It's a good gig.
It's always been a good gig.
It's always been a good gig.
So, well, look, man, we've been doing good. How long do you think we've been going?
I don't know.
Hour and a half.
Hour and a half?
Yeah.
Felt like at least an hour.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, and
we could definitely go a lot longer.
I think we could.
So,
yeah. But I'm going to have mercy on you and land the plane. So, I can't thank you enough. I know what an effort you put into to get here today so we could have this conversation. And I think people are going to watch and they're going to learn more about you and more about the business. And I think it's really good to hear your take on our industry coming in from other industries. I think you have a really good perspective on the opportunities that this industry has within the used car industry. So I'm really hoping I can personally take advantage of that and make build some bridges.
Yep.
So,
I know we're going to continue to work together and find those avenues. Yeah. We have the same job. You know what I mean? You're here to support and protect the industry, and I'm here to do the same thing, but also, try and do business with some of them. But it's been good. I'm looking forward to all the shows this year, and we will definitely see a lot of each other for sure.
Yeah, I'm sure we will. So, yeah, man.
Thanks again, man. Appreciate
Thank
you
you
having
very
me
much.
on.
Absolutely.